Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and welcome back to my creative space. In this video, I'm going to be chatting about the books that I am very optimistically planning to read for the month of December and completing before the end of this year. I think I'm being a little bit ambitious with the books that I want to read because quite a few of them are fantasy and quite chunky fantasies, but here's my book plans for the end of the year, and hopefully I can get to a few of these. The first ones I'm going to talk about are the ones that I have out on Libby, so I don't have physical copies of this. But this week, actually, from November 29th to, I believe, December 5th, the publishers for Palestine have like this week-long reading where they are trying to amplify voices of Palestinian authors. The first book that I have on my Libby holds is Against the Loveless World by Susan Abuawa. If I mispronounce that, I do apologize. And in this one, we are watching this young woman as she becomes slowly radicalized in trying to search for a new and hopeful life and future for her and her family. And I'm just excited to finally get to read this one, as my local library has had quite a long hold on this. I'm looking forward to this one. This one is more of a lit fic, but I haven't read too much lit fic in this year, and so I wanted to go ahead and read this one. And because I've seen so many positive reviews, I think this could be a book that I get so much out of. And then the second book that I have for this reading week is Light in Gaza. This one is an anthology, I believe, mostly from women voices in Palestine, and it's short essays from, I believe, 9 different people and their experience in Gaza. And I'm just interested to get into this one and see how, if this anthology is one that is interconnected or it's just slices of these people's lives in Gaza. I also am not sure if it's more like non-fiction essays or if it's more so like fictional stories set in Gaza, but I am excited to get into it. Because it's an anthology, I think that I can split up the short stories from like 1 to 2 a day in order to finish it before this week. And yeah, I will link down below the publishers for Palestine, and you can go ahead and look at that. I believe they also have like a whole resource of other books that you can read from Palestinian voices. And yes, that will be in my description box. The next book that I have off of Libby is Blood of Old Kings by Sung Il Kim. This one is actually a translated fantasy from Korean. I believe Anton Her is the translator for this one, but it is a epic fantasy where the kingdom or the empire that they live in is actually run by necromancy. And so they have these magic wielders who, when they die, they're chained to like some place in the castle or in the empire, and they're drained of their magic source in order to keep the empire going. Synopsis: I think we are following different perspectives, and how one of our characters, who is a magic wielder, is trying to escape her fate to be chained up and used as a source for keeping the empire as it is. And from the cover of the book, I believe this also has elements of a dragon in it. I am really optimistic for this epic fantasy. I've never actually read translated fantasy work before, so I'm really interested in getting to read this one. I do think that this is a series. I know that the first book in the series was published in Korea in 2016, and it just recently got translated to English now. So I'm not sure like when publication dates for the sequel and things are, but I am excited to start this and get to see the landscape of fantasy outside of just English written fantasy. All right, and then getting into the books that I own, I again have quite a fantasy heavy reading list right now, but the first one that I have is going to be Evocation by S.T. Gibson. This one I had featured in like my fall TBR. It technically still is fall. This one follows our main character David, and he's trying to become the successor of the secret society that his father was like the main leader for. But he finds out that he like owes some sort of soul price to the devil, and so in order to get him detangled from that, he has to go and see his ex Reese, I believe, and the only way to get to his ex to help him out is through his wife Moira, and they kind of get entangled into some sort of romantic thing while they're trying to help David figure out his soul tie to the devil. I've heard very positive things about the relationship aspect in this one, so I'm really interested to see if the poly relationship works for me. I don't think I've really read too many books where the poly relationship convinces me of them having to be in a poly relationship. So I'm wondering if S.T. Gibson can pull that off. I did read A Dowry of Blood from S.T. Gibson, and unfortunately, I didn't fully connect with that one, and I felt very distanced from the narrator in that book. So I'm hoping, from what I've heard, that this is written a little bit differently from the way that A Dowry in Blood was, and I'm hoping that this kind of writing style works better for me and helps me connect to the characters better. The next book that I have is The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. This one is the final book in the Daevabad trilogy. I did start the trilogy at the beginning of this year with City of Brass, and it follows our main character Nahri, and she summons this djinn, Dara, by accident, and he takes her to the city of Daevabad, where they slowly get entangled into the politics of the world, and we meet our third character point of view, Prince Ali. And the first book was very interesting to me, very heavy on building the world and the characters, but the second book I felt very settled into the politics and like the elements and struggles of the world in that second one, and it was such a great follow-up sequel to the first book. And this one I'm very interested to see where the characters end up. I do like the fact that we get 3 point of views in this series, and I am just very concerned where the storyline is going to go. I do like our 3 main characters and the development that they've had in the past 2 books that I've read, but one of the side characters I really enjoyed. It's Prince Ali's older brother. I really like his storyline, and just like the way she builds her character and the relationships they have with each other is so interesting to me. So I am hoping that this finale is closed out well, and I also hope that she doesn't hurt me too badly in this one. The next book that I have is Malice by John Gwynne. This one I am reading for Becca's Catch-Up Book Club. This has been on my radar since I finished Realm of the Elderlings, because someone had told me that there is an animal companion that reminded them of Night Eyes from Realm of the Elderlings, and so I've been wanting to pick this up, and what better encouragement to pick it up than having like a big read-along for this one. I know that this has a very classic good versus evil type of storyline, and that there are a lot of character point of views in this one. I don't believe the Malice book has like a character list, and I think book 2 has a character list, but you can't look at book 2's character list because it will spoil like character deaths in book 1. So this is definitely a one that I'm going to be tandem reading, and I'm going to be taking notes and jotting down who is who so I don't get confused. But I'm very much looking forward to this one. I've heard nothing but positive things about this, and I'm definitely in a very fantasy mood, so I'm excited to start on this one. The next book that I have is Gideon in the Ninth by Taza Merritt. This one is pitched as like lesbian necromancers in space, but I know that this one is much more of like a kind of competition murder mystery leaning novel. And this year what I found out is that I really do enjoy a murder mystery element. So I'm very interested to see how the Gideon in the Ninth kind of sci-fi fantasy works with that murder mystery kind of storyline. I know that our main character Gideon is an indentured servant to the Ninth House, and she is pulled into this competition by the young woman of the house by kind of bribing her and saying, if you help me win this competition and bring notoriety to the House of Ninth, I will set you free and you don't have to be in this planet anymore with us. And so Gideon kind of reluctantly agrees to go ahead and help Harrow with the competition. And when they show up to the place that the competition is being held, there is a murder that they have to solve. The next one that I have is Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. This one has been on my backlist for quite a while, and I think December, the kind of cool down temperature where I live, this is the perfect atmospheric read for this time. It follows twins, Roger and Dodger, and I believe they have been separated from birth, but they were kind of created in a lab in order to achieve this like experiment of gaining godly powers. I don't know much after that besides them being created to attain godhood, but I'm very interested to see because so many people have said that it is a favorite of theirs and the atmosphere is so strong in this one. If I end up enjoying this one, I am interested in trying out Seanan McGuire's Wayward Children series. I don't know if the writing style is any different from this one, but it seems to be a very like lyrical and atmospheric type of writing. And then one of the books that I was kind of iffy putting on here, but I just recently finished book 2 in the This Woven Kingdom series. I've been kind of holding off on reading this book, the third book in the series, because Tahereh Mafi hasn't put out a kind of release date for book 4. There's 5 books in this series, but I recently read book 2 in a vlog that I have coming out soon, and I just loved the atmosphere and just being back in this world and being introduced to new characters and new concepts in this world. And I think because I have such a fantasy heavy read, this one is a YA, so the fantasy aspects of it aren't as like heavy for me, and it's so much more of like a palate cleanser read. And there's a sort of like romantic storyline going on in here that is so fun and refreshing to read. And I think this is a great palate cleanser read for me to break up all the heavy, dense fantasies that I have on my reading list this month. And in this one, we follow Eliza, who's the hidden Jinn princess, and she's living in this kingdom where it's kind of looked down upon to be Jinn. And she's trying to lay low, live her life in peace, and she works as a servant. But unfortunately, one day she is attacked on the public streets, and it catches the attention of the prince of this kingdom, and he starts to be interested in seeing if she is a spy from an opposing country, or if she's like who she is in general. And he kind of starts to fall in love with her and is enthralled with her, but she at the same time is like, I'm trying not to get this attention on me because I want to live a quiet life. And so much of the fantasy and the politics of the series is actually quite interesting, but one thing that really enthralls me is the romance aspect of the story. I think the way that Tahereh Mafi writes with so much detail is so atmospheric, and she builds the world really well, and her descriptions of the places they're at and the clothing that is worn by the characters feels so fairy tale-esque, and the world just really sucks you in. And I think the writing is so beautifully done, and really this is a series that was very surprising to me, but I have enjoyed it so much, and I highly recommend that you pick it up because it is quite a fast and quick pace read. And the final book that I have for this TBR is Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane. This one follows our main character who gets roped into this like fake fiance kind of ploy with her landlord. And he's like, I gotta have a fake fiance because I told my family that I had a fiance and it's coming up to the holidays. You know, if this will benefit me and you kind of vibes. And so she, for some reason, agrees, like, yeah, I'll be your fake fiance. And then when they show up to his house, she realizes that this man's sister is this woman she fell in love with the Christmas before at some sort of like bookstore. They kind of had a meet cute moment, and she's like, oh shit, this is the person that I've been thinking of and kind of pining over for the last year, and I didn't really know her, and she's your sister. And so it's like, how do you tell the person that you're like very much in love with that you're in love with them, but then you're like, I'm your brother's fiance. So how do we pull that ploy off? And I think that whole concept is kind of messy and silly goofy, but a concept that will be fun for a light holiday read. I say light holiday read, but I've heard a lot of people say that this is quite emotional and kind of emotionally heavy of a romance, probably in the lines of like Abby Jimenez. This is the first time I am reading Alison Cochrane though, so I'm not sure what their writing style is like, but I do know that Erin from Booked and Busy gave this a 5-star rating, and if Erin is giving a romance a 5-star rating, I am going to be reading it, and I hope that I am somebody who also enjoys this, and hopefully it doesn't make me cry too much. Who knows? And it's sapphic, so that's a fun little addition to this book. But yeah, those are all the books that I have lined up currently. It doesn't seem like a lot because this video is much shorter than all the other videos that I do because I just don't know how to stop yapping. But honestly, quite a bit of these books are quite lengthy, and you know, in my mind, I hope that I can finish all of them before the end of the year, but if I don't, it's not going to be that big of a deal. I'm not going to hard press myself on finishing all these books. I will say that the ones that I've checked out from my public library, those ones are going to be ones that are my priority so that I can return them and give them to people who are waiting in line as well. And also The Empire of Gold, since that is the ending of a series, I would like to prioritize that read as well. So those 4 books are the ones that I'm paying most attention and focusing on for the month of December. I can't believe that we're getting up to the end of the year and all of the wrap-ups and goals and things. I will say that I have reached my reading goal. I initially put it as 50, and I'm quite well over the 50 book mark at this point in the year, so I'm kind of just allowing myself to mood read. Even if I wasn't close to my goal, I would allow myself to mood read because reading is just a hobby where I like to have fun, so there's no pressure there. Thank you so much for watching this video as I chat about the books that I'd like to read before the end of 2024. Please do let me know if you've reached your reading goal yet, and if there are any books that you would like to finish before the end of 2024, what those reads are. And thank you again for watching this video. I had a lot of fun chatting with you on this shorter video, and I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!